The mind is the control center of everything you do. Every action, every decision, every emotion, and every result you create in your life begins first in your mind. It functions just like an operating system, an invisible program running in the background that dictates what is possible, what is dangerous, what is worth pursuing, and what must be avoided. Most people try to change their lives by focusing on the outside. They chase more money, they change jobs, switch relationships, or start new routines. But nothing truly changes unless you update what's happening inside your mind. Think about it. No matter what tools you have, no matter what opportunities show up at your door, if your mind is still running on old patterns of fear, self-doubt, procrastination, or unworthiness, you will either miss the opportunity or sabotage it. Your mindset determines your bandwidth. Just like an outdated computer system can't handle modern software, an outdated belief system cannot handle the life you are trying to build. That's why the most important work is internal. The way you think drives everything else. Now, this isn't just positive thinking. This is about installing new programs in your brain. And just like a computer, your mind doesn't update itself automatically. You have to do it deliberately. You have to get conscious about what beliefs are running you. Are you operating with the belief that you're not good enough, that people can't be trusted, that success is for others but not for you? Because those beliefs aren't just thoughts. They're codes, commands, orders that your mind executes over and over again, reinforcing the same reality. You cannot outperform your identity. You cannot build a life beyond what you believe you are worthy of. If you think small, you act small. If you believe you are limited, you won't take risks. And if you carry unresolved fear, it will show up in hesitation, overthinking, and indecision. That's why everything starts in the mind. Your thoughts are not just reactions. They are instructions to your nervous system. They shape your emotional state, your energy, your posture, even the way you breathe. That's how deep it goes. The greatest transformation happens when you start taking responsibility for your inner world. When you stop blaming your job, your upbringing, the economy, or other people, and you look directly at your mental blueprint. What is your relationship with challenge, with uncertainty, with failure? These are all shaped by your operating system. And the most successful people in the world are not the ones with the least fear, but the ones with the best mental software. They've trained their minds to work for them, not against them. You must learn to audit your mind daily. Ask yourself, what am I consistently focusing on? Am I training myself to look for possibilities, or am I defaulting to problems? Am I creating empowering meanings, or am I making everything about fear, loss, and lack? Because here's the truth. What you focus on, you feel, and what you feel becomes your experience of life. Focus on what you can control, and you feel powerful. Focus on what you lack, and you feel small. It's that simple. Upgrading your mindset doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means deciding which part of reality you choose to give your power to. Will you see rejection as a reflection of your worth, or as redirection? Will you interpret failure as proof you're not capable, or feedback that sharpens your strategy? The mind can be a weapon or a prison. It can be the source of your freedom or the reason you stay stuck. The difference lies in awareness and training. Every day you have the chance to rewire your thoughts, to interrupt the old patterns and replace them with new ones. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through language. The words you say to yourself matter. If you keep telling yourself, "I'm overwhelmed," your brain shuts down options. If you say, "I'm figuring this out," your brain starts looking for solutions. That's not just semantics, it's strategy. Because language is how the mind interprets the world. If you change your language, you change your focus. If you change your focus, you change your experience. And if you change your experience enough times, you build a new identity. Don't wait for confidence to show up. Confidence is not a gift, it's a byproduct. It's something that grows as you start making different choices from a new mindset. As you recondition your mind to expect more, demand more, and allow more, your actions follow. And once your actions change, your life changes. That's why mastering your mind is not a luxury, it's a necessity. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thinking. Every habit, every result, every emotional reaction you have is a mirror of your mental programming. If you want to change how you do everything, start by changing how you think about everything. Start seeing challenges as the training ground for greatness. Start viewing discomfort as the path to growth. Start believing that you are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the author. You can rewrite the story. You can uninstall the fear. You can update the software. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are just one decision away from running your life on a completely new system. Your life is not determined by the hand you've been dealt, but by how you choose to play that hand. Circumstances, however difficult or unfair, are not the defining factor of success or failure. It's the decisions you make in response to them. Every breakthrough begins with a decision, not a wish, not a hope, not a vague intention. A decision is a moment of absolute clarity where you tell yourself, this is it. No more excuses, no more waiting, I will act. That kind of decision is the point where your destiny begins to shift. While many people spend years blaming their past, waiting for better timing, or hoping the world will finally align in their favor, the ones who change everything are the ones who decide to take responsibility, even in the most uncontrollable situations. The reason decisions carry such power is because they put you back in the driver's seat. Life throws challenges at all of us: loss, rejection, failure, betrayal, setbacks. But those challenges do not decide your future. Your response does. Some people crumble under pressure, others rise. The difference is not the intensity of their pain, but the meaning they assign to it and the decisions they make as a result. Every time something happens to you, you have a choice. Will I be defined by this, or will I rise above it? Will I use this moment to give up or to grow? Those are decisions, and they shape who you become. People often think that their big decisions, choosing a job, a partner, a city, are what define their life. But more often, it's the small, daily decisions that set the course of your destiny. What time do you wake up? How do you talk to yourself? Do you push through resistance or retreat from it? Do you keep your word or make excuses? These may seem small in isolation, but over time they build a life. And the truth is, even indecision is a decision. When you delay, when you avoid, when you choose not to act, that too is a direction you've chosen. The pain of inaction can be far greater than the discomfort of choosing. So choose. Making powerful decisions also requires courage, because real decisions come with risk. Risk of failure, risk of judgment, risk of walking away from the familiar. But staying safe is often the most dangerous thing you can do. The greatest transformations happen when you step into uncertainty and decide to bet on yourself. That doesn't mean being reckless, it means being intentional. It means aligning your choices with your highest values, not your current fears. When you do that, you begin to live with integrity and direction. You're no longer being dragged through life by circumstance, you're leading it. Too many people are waiting for certainty before making a move, but clarity often comes from movement, not before it. Sometimes you won't know if a decision is right until you step into it. That's part of the process. The path is revealed by walking. What matters is that you decide with boldness, that you back that decision with action, that you don't just make decisions based on convenience or comfort, but based on growth and purpose. Because when you decide from a place of strength, even if it scares you. You start building a life that reflects your true potential, not your limitations. Even when things go wrong, even when the outcome isn't what you hoped for, the act of deciding builds something in you. It builds character, it builds trust in yourself. It builds the kind of inner strength that can't be shaken by external circumstances. The more you choose action over hesitation, the more momentum you create. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. It takes more energy to start than to keep going. That's why one strong decision can be the spark that ignites a chain of breakthroughs. But it begins with the willingness to choose, to commit, and to follow through, especially when it's hard. Greatness is not reserved for the lucky or the privileged. It's built by people who make different decisions, decisions to keep going when it's easier to quit, to stay grounded when things fall apart, to keep believing when there's no evidence they should. Those decisions may not bring instant rewards, but they compound over time. And one day, those small, consistent choices become the story of a life well lived. You don't need permission to change. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a decision, a real one, a decision backed by action, by grit, by vision. So ask yourself, what decision are you avoiding right now? What truth are you running from? What choice have you delayed because it scares you? That's the doorway to your next level. That's the turning point waiting for you to say yes. You have more power than you realize. Your decisions write your story, and if you don't like where the last chapter ended, remember, you are the author. You can change the direction, the plot, even the ending. But first, you must decide. Your emotional state is the invisible engine that drives every action, reaction, and decision you make. Most people don't realize that how they feel in any given moment directly impacts what they do, how they do it, and whether or not they follow through. Your state controls your focus, and your focus controls your results. If you're in a disempowered state, tired, fearful, stressed, your thoughts shrink, your perspective narrows, and your ability to act with strength is compromised. But if you are in a peak state, energized, focused, and mentally strong, you make bolder choices, take more intelligent risks, and step into the kind of behaviors that create extraordinary results. The key is not to wait for this emotional state to arrive by chance, but to learn how to create it on demand. Most people think their emotions are caused by circumstances, what someone said, what happened at work, whether the day started well. But that's an illusion. Your emotional state is not dictated by your environment. It's shaped by what you focus on, what meaning you give to things, and how you use your body. That means you can change your state instantly. The fastest way to shift your emotions is to change your physiology, how you breathe, move, stand, and speak. If you slouch, breathe shallow, and hang your head, your brain receives signals that reinforce low energy and low confidence. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, move with intensity, your body sends messages to your brain that you're alert, alive, and ready. The shift is immediate and powerful. State isn't just about energy, it's about access. When you're in the right state, you access the best parts of yourself, your creativity, your courage, your empathy, your clarity. But when you're in a poor state, those parts feel locked away. You may know what to do, but you won't do it. You may have all the skills and tools, but you won't access them if your emotional state is off. That's why some people with less talent outperform others with more. It's not a matter of ability, but of state. Champions condition their emotions just as much as their bodies. They train themselves to get into the zone, to be resourceful, regardless of the chaos around them. It's also important to understand that your state is contagious. The energy you bring into a room affects everyone in it. Whether you're a leader, a parent, a teammate, or simply a human being moving through life, your emotional presence either lifts others or pulls them down. That means mastering your state is not just a personal discipline, it's an act of service. When you show up in a powerful state, you give others permission to rise. When you manage your emotions instead of being managed by them, you set a higher standard. And over time, people begin to trust you, not just for what you say, but for how you show up consistently. The most successful people in the world are not happy because they're successful. They became successful because they made it a habit to show up in a powerful state, again and again. Even when they didn't feel like it, especially when they didn't feel like it, because they understood that emotion is created, not found, they learned to cultivate it deliberately. They built rituals, morning routines, movement patterns, empowering questions that tuned their minds and bodies for performance. And every time they did, they built more certainty, more momentum, more trust in themselves. Being in the right state doesn't mean ignoring pain, denying fear, or pretending everything is perfect. It means owning your emotions and then choosing what to do with them. It means recognizing that you are not your feelings. You are the one who experiences them. And that means you can shift them. It means interrupting the spiral of doubt, stress, or overwhelm and saying, "This is not how I want to show up. I'm not going to let this emotion drive my next decision." That's power. That's self-leadership. If you want to change your results, don't just change your goals, change your state. Because if you change your state, you change your actions. And if you change your actions, your life follows. This is the missing link for many people who are stuck. They're trying to think their way into transformation while staying in an emotional state that drains them. But you can't create a masterpiece from a place of emotional emptiness. You need fuel, and that fuel is your state. So don't wait for something good to happen to feel good. Feel good and you'll make something good happen. Don't wait to be motivated to act. Act your way into motivation. Move your body, direct your focus, speak differently, and notice how quickly your energy changes. Make that your daily practice, because when you learn to master your state, you unlock your power, not someday. Right now, every moment, every challenge, every opportunity, you show up as the strongest version of yourself, and that changes everything. Every single person alive is where they are today because of the decisions they've made. Decisions are the true architects of destiny, not our conditions, not our circumstances, not what we inherited or lacked. It is the power of choice-conscious, intentional decision-making that separates a life of reaction from a life of purpose. At any given moment, you are one decision away from changing your life. And yet, most people don't treat decisions with the seriousness or reverence they deserve. They hesitate, delay, avoid, or delegate the responsibility to time or to others, never realizing that by refusing to decide, they're still making a decision, one that often leads to stagnation, regret, or missed opportunity. Decisions shape our identity. Every time you decide, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. Choose courage over comfort, and you reinforce bravery. Choose discipline over distraction, and you become the person who can follow through. Choose faith over fear, and you strengthen your belief in yourself and the future. These moments may feel small, but they stack, and over time they build a foundation of certainty, character, and momentum. On the flip side, when you avoid making decisions or let life choose for you, you begin to feel powerless, like you're being pushed by the wind rather than steering your own ship. Some of the most defining moments in life come down to decisions made in seconds. The decision to end a relationship that's toxic, the decision to speak up when it would be easier to stay silent, the decision to invest in yourself, to walk away from comfort, to chase a dream no one else sees. These decisions require courage not because they're complicated, but because they demand commitment without a guarantee. They ask you to act on faith, on instinct, on the deeper knowing inside you that says, this is the right path, even if it's not the easy one. And that is where transformation begins. Most people struggle not because they lack opportunity, but because they keep putting off the hard decisions. They live in a loop of maybe later, or what if I'm wrong? But indecision is the enemy of progress. Waiting for certainty is a trap because no big decision comes with a guarantee. All growth involves risk. All transformation requires a leap. The question is not whether you will face fear or doubt, but whether you will decide anyway. Because when you do, when you move despite the uncertainty, you build confidence. And confidence doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from proving to yourself that you can decide, commit, and figure it out along the way. The truth is, your life will always follow the direction of your strongest decisions. If you want to change your story, change your decisions, decide who you are, decide what you're no longer available for. Decide what standards you will no longer compromise. Decide to take back the pen and become the author of your life. It doesn't matter where you started or what went wrong before. What matters is what you decide now. Because the moment you make a new decision, your future begins to shift. Maybe not everything changes in a flash, but something important does you. And that internal shift is what begins to move mountains in your external world. It's also important to remember that decisions are not just about what you want. They're about what you're willing to do. Desire without decision is just daydreaming. You have to make the kind of decision that is backed by action, the kind that burns the bridges behind you, that says, I'm going forward and I'm not turning back. That level of resolve, of clarity, of inner commitment, that's what creates breakthroughs. Because the universe responds to boldness, when you're truly all in, doors open, resources show up. People start to align, but it all starts with your choice. You don't need more time. You don't need more information. You need to decide, and you need to decide often, not just once. Life is a continuous stream of choices. Every day, every moment, you have the power to make a new decision, to upgrade your standards, to change your response, to rewrite the narrative. You are not stuck unless you choose to be. Even when you can't control the events around you, you can control what you do next. That's the freedom found in decision. That's the hidden power within reach at all times. You are not waiting for the right time. The right time is when you decide it is. So today, ask yourself, what decision have I been avoiding? What am I pretending not to know? What truth do I need to own, and what action must follow? The answers might scare you, but they will also liberate you, because clarity is born in decision and freedom follows. Your destiny isn't written in stone, it's written in the choices you make. This moment right now is one of those moments. Decide who you want to become. Decide what story you want to live. Decide now, because this is the moment that shapes everything. Every breakthrough begins with a moment of truth, a moment when you look yourself in the mirror and decide that excuses are no longer welcome in your life. We all have reasons why something didn't work, why it's hard, why we feel stuck. And some of those reasons may be valid. Life is not fair, and it never promised to be. You might have had a tough upbringing, financial struggles, personal heartbreaks, or health challenges. But the harsh truth is this: your excuses will not take you where your dreams want you to go. They will only keep you exactly where you are, and the longer you argue for your limitations, the more you get to keep them. There's a kind of quiet poison in the language of excuses. I'll try. It's not the right time. I don't have the resources. I'm just too tired. These phrases feel protective, like shields from failure. But in reality, they are locks on the doors of progress. When you take radical responsibility for your life, you stop waiting. You stop hoping someone will come save you, fix it for you, or finally recognize your value. You stop blaming the system, the weather, your upbringing, your spouse, or your boss. Because when you blame something outside of you, you give away your power. You surrender the pen that writes your story. But when you say, "This is mine to own," everything changes. Radical responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means everything is your responsibility, your reactions, your choices, your next steps. That shift puts you back in control, and it's the most powerful place you can operate from. There's a freedom that comes when you stop negotiating with your limitations. Excuses can be clever, seductive even. They sound like logic, but they are often just fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of what others will think if you actually go all in and fall short. But here's the truth. Every successful person you admire has had those fears. They just didn't let the fears have the final word. They decided that excuses were a luxury they could no longer afford. They knew that if they waited for perfect circumstances, they'd be waiting forever. So they moved forward anyway, not because they weren't scared, but because they were more committed to their growth than their comfort. You can't control every event in your life, but you can control what you make it mean. Two people can go through the same storm and one becomes bitter while the other becomes better. What's the difference? One took radical responsibility while the other clung to excuses. It's not about the hand you're dealt, it's about how you play it. There is always something you can do, some step you can take, some mindset you can adopt, no matter how small. When you focus on that, you begin to take your power back, and over time, that builds resilience, self-trust, and unstoppable momentum. Excuses are often rooted in our desire to protect our ego. If we don't try, we can't fail. If we don't start, we can't lose. But that mindset is a trap, because the cost of not trying is often greater than the pain of failure. Regret is heavier than failure. It lingers longer, it echoes louder, and it's avoidable, not by avoiding effort, but by embracing it, by deciding that even if things don't go as planned, you'll be stronger, wiser, and better prepared next time. That's the growth mindset. That's where transformation lives. What if instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you asked, "What is this here to teach me?" What if instead of saying, "I can't," you said, "I will figure it out"? What if every setback was fuel, every obstacle a training ground, every delay a chance to build more discipline and faith? That's not just motivational talk, it's a mindset you build, choice by choice, day by day. And it starts with killing the excuses, not softening them, not rationalizing them, killing them, starving them of oxygen, refusing to speak them into existence, because what you speak shapes your reality. And when you speak ownership, possibility, and determination, your world begins to rise to meet you. The most powerful thing you can do today is stop waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. You already have everything you need to take the next step. It might not be perfect, it might not be comfortable, but it's possible, and if it's possible, it's yours to pursue. The people who create massive change in their lives aren't always the smartest, the richest, or the most talented. They're the ones who finally said enough. No more excuses, it's time. They didn't need a sign, they became the sign. So if you're tired of being stuck, tired of watching from the sidelines, tired of knowing there's more in you, this is your moment. Not next week, not when it's easier, right now. Look at your life, look at your habits, your language, your routines, and start cutting out everything that sounds like an excuse. Replace it with a new standard. Raise your expectations, raise your energy, and decide that from this day forward, you will no longer tolerate anything less than the highest version of you. That's what it means to live without excuses. That's what it means to take radical responsibility, and that's where real freedom begins. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own. It has the power to build empires or to destroy opportunities. It can trap you in a cycle of fear and doubt or launch you into a future you once thought impossible. But the truth is, your mind isn't hardwired for success, it's conditioned. And for many people, that conditioning comes from a lifetime of survival, scarcity, and limitation. If you want to thrive, truly thrive, you must recondition your mind. You must retrain it to serve you rather than sabotage you. This isn't a one-time event, it's a discipline. A lifelong commitment to choosing empowering thoughts, building mental habits that align with your purpose, and removing the weeds of negativity that keep sprouting when you're not paying attention. Most people operate on default programming. They think the same thoughts every day, feel the same emotions, repeat the same patterns, and wonder why their life never changes. But nothing changes until you change what you believe about yourself. What you believe is possible, what you believe you deserve. If your internal dialogue is filled with "I'm not enough," "I always mess things up," or "success isn't for people like me," then that becomes the ceiling you live under. But the good news is that beliefs can be rewritten. Thoughts can be upgraded. You are not a prisoner of your past experiences unless you choose to be. You can condition your mind to expect abundance, to embrace discomfort, to see obstacles as stepping stones and not roadblocks. This reconditioning begins with awareness. You cannot change what you do not observe. Start noticing the patterns in your thinking. When do you doubt yourself? When do you procrastinate? When do you shrink? Write those moments down, then ask, what would the best version of me believe in this moment? Not the scared version, not the tired version, the version of you who is focused, powerful, and driven by purpose. That version doesn't make excuses. That version sees opportunity where others see opposition. That version understands that the mind is a battlefield, and to win the battle, you must fight with focus, with faith, and with repetition. Reconditioning your mind also requires controlling your environment. Your thoughts are influenced by what you consume, what you read, what you watch, who you talk to. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, distractions, and people who don't believe in growth, your mindset will reflect that. You have to become the gatekeeper of your mind. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Put yourself in rooms where people speak possibility, where excellence is the standard, where challenge is welcome. Feed your mind with knowledge that expands your vision. Challenge your beliefs. Ask better questions. You become what you repeatedly expose yourself to. So make sure you are exposing your mind to the kind of thoughts that move you forward. Another part of mental reconditioning is your language. The words you speak out loud and internally carry energy. Words shape emotion. Emotion shapes behavior. If you constantly say, "I'm overwhelmed," you'll feel overwhelmed. If you say, "I'm figuring it out," you'll feel empowered. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "this is hard" with "this is building me." Speak as if what you want already exists, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. That's why visualization is so powerful. Athletes use it, leaders use it, high performers across every field use it. They see success before it shows up, and then they act in alignment with that vision. Reconditioning your mind also means becoming emotionally resilient. Challenges are inevitable. Setbacks are part of the journey. The goal is not to avoid them, but to train your mind to respond with strength and grace. When something doesn't go your way, don't spiral, don't blame, pause, breathe, reframe, ask, what is this teaching me? Ask, how can I grow from this? That shift is everything. You're not just surviving, you're evolving. You're turning life into training. Every moment, every difficulty becomes part of your curriculum. That's the mindset of someone who is reconditioned for greatness. And finally, reconditioning the mind means building rituals. Daily habits that reinforce your new identity: meditation, journaling, affirmations, learning, moving your body, celebrating small wins. These are not just motivational tools, they are anchors, anchors that stabilize you when the world gets chaotic. Anchors that remind you who you are and where you're going. You can't expect to operate at a high level with a low standard of mental upkeep. Just like the body needs fuel and rest, the mind needs discipline and vision. And when you build those rituals into your life, you stop drifting. You start designing. You become the architect of your thoughts, not the victim of your emotions. So if you want to thrive in any environment, if you want to be unshakable in the face of pressure, if you want to create something extraordinary with your life, it starts with your mind. You must decide that no matter what your past has been, your future can be different. You must be willing to let go of stories that no longer serve you and embrace the habits that shape a new identity. The world around you may not change overnight, but when your inner world shifts, your outer world has no choice but to follow. That's the secret, that's the work, and that's the beginning of true, unstoppable transformation.